The Sports Minister is set to hold a briefing tomorrow. It's to update the public on their plans. This is to avoid a situation, Tembekile, where, can you believe it, the national flag will not be allowed to fly, the South African flag, at an international sports event.
So some context for you. If the country does not become compliant with the WADA regulations by Friday, it'll have a direct impact on the Springboks in their quarter-final match against France, which is going to happen on Sunday. And the Proteas currently playing at the Cricket World Cup. That's underway in India. Someone who's best placed to explain all of this is Vaylen Kirtley, still live for us in France, where the Rugby World Cup is taking place. Vaylen, will the Boks be able to fly our flag or not on Sunday?
Thank you very much, Tembekile. Well, it's a wait that we're all wanting to be answered, and one that we hope will have a positive outcome. So the Sports Ministry will update the public tomorrow on where they are currently at. Early on in the week, in fact, last week, it was reported that he did say that he had personally met with the head of WADA to try and resolve this issue. But from a statement from the World Anti-Doping Agency, there are two countries which are non-compliant with getting their national legislation up to speed with the latest global anti-doping code of 2021. The one is Bermuda and the other one is South Africa. And in line with this, they can say that no country can fly their flag at an international event, at a intercontinental event, at an international event, at an Olympics or a Paralympic Games. And if we want to see just how serious it can get, you've got North Korea, who have been deemed non-compliant with the World Anti-Doping Agency in 2021. They're currently in action at the Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. And WADA, because we saw that North Korea, after a number of their weightlifters, in fact, their weightlifters broke 6 world records, their athletes were able to not only fly the North Korean flag, but actually be on the podium with their national colors, celebrating their victory at the Continental Championships. WADA have said that there will be serious consequences, not for North Korea because they've already been deemed non-compliant with WADA, but for the Olympic Committee of Asia. That was the continental body for the Asian continent that were behind organizing the Asian Games. So WADA are taking this incredibly serious if you are non-compliant. And Tembekile and Kathy, you'll know what it means to get legislation passed in South African government and the processes that it has to go through. So SAID, which is our national independent body that does all of our anti-doping testing in the country, last year really, in April, had put together a draft bill for SASCOC and for the national federations to take a look at, to invite comments on. They then presented a draft bill to the World Anti-Doping Agency to see whether they were in fact happy that the new code was in alignment with the previous code or with their latest code of 2021, because South Africa's anti-doping code is outdated nationally. It was last updated in 2006. So it's at that process, and this is where we're currently sitting, that we've got legislation that needs to be passed, and it needs to be passed before Friday if we are not to be deemed non-compliant and action being taken against South Africa, which would mean us not flying our flag at international events. The Rugby World Cup, the Cricket World Cup being two of those major events currently underway.
Vaylen, I mean, we can't look at the situation without asking ourselves, really, how did we get here? It seems almost unbelievable that we're here. How did this slip through the cracks?
This is something that hopefully will be answered tomorrow when the Sports Ministry does, in fact, address the media, because as you can understand, when you're passing legislation, and especially such particular legislation relating to sports anti-doping, that there are a number of key stakeholders that are involved. SAIDS have done everything that they can. That's our national independent anti-doping agency. I have requested comment from SASCOC from last week already regarding the situation, because they, of course, are our internet or our Olympic body that looks after national teams that represent South Africa, not only just at Olympic and Paralympic Games, but even in cricket and football and rugby. There was a question asked to Don Human, who is our Springbok assistant coach, over weekend as to what he thought about this potential ban for South Africa. He said that it doesn't really, it's not really affecting the players, and that they will continue to put out their best when they get on the field. And that's something that you heard a little bit earlier on from towering Lok Snyman, who was asked exactly the same thing as to whether this potential ban on flying our national colors at a Rugby World Cup will get to the players. And here's what Snyman had to say.
No, just as far as that goes, it's something that we're not really focused on. We are just focused on doing, things that are in our control, and focusing on the weekend ahead. So, yeah, that's a simple answer to that.
So, Vaylen, the squad, they're not going to allow itself to be distracted by the issues around the flag, but this weekend is still a big one for us at the Rugby World Cup, isn't it?
It certainly is. We've reached the knockout stages. We are up as the defending champions against the hosts of France at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis on Sunday at 9 p.m. It is going to be an incredible encounter, and in fact, it's something that many fans have actually voiced their annoyance at with World Rugby, that the draw for the Rugby World Cup was done so early that we have the situation where you have matches that could have been Rugby World Cup finals actually taking place much earlier on in the tournament. The whole competition opened with France versus New Zealand encounter, two teams that have met for the Webb Ellis Trophy previously. South Africa up against Ireland, the world #1 team in the pool stages. Now we've got a quarterfinal where we've got the 4 best teams in the world going head to head against one another. The hosts and South Africa on Sunday evening in Paris, and then just the day before, it is the world #1's Ireland up against the All Blacks at the same venue. It is a massive encounter for South Africa, and they've managed to have a bye week, so you'll know that they were based in Toulon. They've now made their way to Paris. They arrived earlier on today. They'll have their first training session tomorrow, because that's when the test week actually gets underway. But having heard from assistant coach Deon Davids earlier on today in a press conference, in a virtual press conference, he did say that they were planning and strategizing and had a really intensive session over the weekend, because as much as the players got a little bit of time off to spend with their family, because South Africa's bye week came right at the end of their pool stages, it was then into planning for what will come and what may lie ahead if they do make it through the quarterfinals. But it is going to be a titanic battle. And here's what Coach Deon Davids had to say.
Game, the stuff that you play, you always try to be creative in terms of what the opposition gives you. And obviously, when you play at this level, teams analyze each other to the bone. So you have to find means and ways to stay to your core things that's important for you, but also to outsmart the opposition. And I think that will just stay part of I think our approach, or any team's approach, is to find that edge. To doing something differently on a different place and a different occasion. So I don't think that will be something new in terms of our approach, and that's just how we look at our strategy going into this game.
All right, so that's where we'll leave it with Vaylen Kirtley for now, but certainly, hopefully the week off has come in handy. Vaylen, of course, yesterday the Sunday papers had pictures of some of the rugby players frolicking in the sun out in France, having what seemingly looks like a good time, but a calm really before what is the big encounter. Are you going to pay for us?
I mean, where's my card? Okay, we're not going to
I'm going to hold you to that.